Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'm Bill Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor. Tonight is the June 25th, 2025 meeting of the Brighton Town Board. Welcome to everyone here and welcome to everyone watching us remotely. We will begin the open forum portion of our meeting in just a moment. I'll get into the procedure for open forum in more detail in just a moment when we get there. But the open forum is the opportunity for members of the community to address the town board about matters, whether or not they're on the agenda this evening. I would note that for people that may be live streaming us on YouTube, if you want to participate remotely in the open forum, you'll have to log into Teams to do that during the open forum. And of course, there are instructions for doing it on the town's webpage, www.townofbrighton.org. As we have done for many years now, all of our town board meetings are accessible to the deaf and hard of hearing community, thanks to our ASL interpreters. And tonight, thank you, Alyssa and Allie. We appreciate your service to the community. The agenda for tonight's meeting for people that are here in person is out on the table outside the door. And if you're watching us remotely, it is also available on the town's website, along with all of the supporting materials that we will be referring to in making decisions on the actions on the agenda tonight. So if you would, please rise in spirit, and we'll start with a pledge to the flag. I'll ask Councilmember Corrado to please lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we will now begin the open forum. As I mentioned, we hold that open forum at the start of every town board meeting. It's an opportunity for members of the public to address the board concerning any matter relating to the town, whether or not it's on our agenda this evening. I would note that if anybody would like to address the board concerning either one of the two public hearings that we have on tonight's agenda, one of which relates to the proposed stormwater management local law, and the other relating to the proposed removal of a silver maple tree at 185 Elmore Road. I would encourage you to wait until those public hearings are called, and then your comments will be included in the record. But if you would like to speak during the open forum and you're here in person, when I get finished with the directions here, you can raise your hand. I'll call on you. Please come up to the podium and speak. I would ask that you give us your name and address, please. If you are remote, again, please log in to us on Teams, and there are directions for doing that on the town's webpage. You can use the raised hand. You'll be admitted into the room, and you'll have the opportunity to speak. I do ask all speakers during the open forum to limit their remarks to 3 minutes, whether you're speaking in person or remotely, and I will give you a 30-second warning before your time expires. We may not be able to answer your questions tonight, particularly if they're matters not on the agenda. But it's really our goal always at these town board meetings to give the public the opportunity to address us and share your thoughts with the board, and for us to be able to listen thoughtfully to your comments. So please direct remarks to the town board and not to the room, not to other speakers. Please avoid personal attacks and outbursts of any kind, including applause or boos or the like. Out of respect for the speakers and out of respect for the time of everybody here in the room tonight. Also, out of respect for everyone in the room, we do not allow signs during town board meetings. We don't want to block anybody's view. If there are failures to follow these rules, you'll be warned. Repeated failure to follow the rules or any other directions from the chair may result in speaking privileges being ended early, the early termination of the open forum, or being asked to leave the meeting. But we know that's not going to happen. So with that, we'll start the open forum. Is there anyone here that would like to address the board during the open forum? Come on up. I know that little light is hard to deal with, isn't it?
No way. It's right. I mean, it makes sense that it's right in the middle, but my computer doesn't. All right, good enough.
Good.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Okay, my name?
Please.
All right, Julie Capacer. Whoa.
Thank you, Julie.
Oh, do you need my address or?
No.
Okay. All right. I'm a little nervous. All right. I'm here tonight to advocate for a change in the town's ordinance number 129-8, particularly Section A, or at least to begin a dialogue of updating and modernizing it in a thoughtful and environmentally conscious way to allow longer grasses to grow in our yards because of the effect of manicured lawns and pesticide-laden lawns have on the environment, and most importantly, our pollinators and birds. I had a lot, but I'm trying to narrow it down for the 3 minutes. We all know how important pollinators are. And I'm not just talking about bees and butterflies, but wasps, beetles, flies, et cetera. They're important to the foods that we grow, but they're also a food source for all the lovely birds that we hear. 99% of the songbirds feed off of pollinators. So pollinators, as you also know, are declining. It's kind of a crisis, and just one fact is 65% of bees species are rated as vulnerable, endangered, or extinct, according to the International Union for Conservation of Nature. And I have a whole lot of data and a whole lot of research about the value of having unmowed lawns, and that's really what I am asking for. So 37% of bees forage on white clover and dandelions. Believe it or not. Lacewings, fireflies prefer the long grasses, as do beetles, for their larval food. They like that for their source of foods. The longer grasses help balance the ecosystem by providing food, shelter, nesting sites for many different pollinators along with birds, and incorporating different layers of flowering plants and long grasses in the landscape. Pollinators can find shelter and what they need, food, and what they need for survival. The longer grasses also provide seeds for the birds. No mowing allows for biodiversity, so many species of grasses and flowers grow naturally, buttercups, daisies, all kinds of plants and grasses, and all increase the number of butterflies, beetles, and insects dramatically. There's many studies about how longer grass positively relates to the diversity and abundance of butterflies. That is, if you have long grass, you're going to see more varieties of butterflies and bees and all of the insects and pollinators. And I think an important thing to note is that one concern that neighbors have is that longer grasses will increase the abundance of ticks, which we're all afraid of, but in fact, they don't. The study concluded that manicured lawns disproportionately favor the abundance of those kinds of pests like ticks and mites and millipedes, et cetera. So, in short, and I wish I'd had time myself because I don't know how much time I have left, I would like to advocate for a change in that policy to allow us to have not wild and crazy and ugly, to say what is ugly, lawns, but manicured lawns, but with a lot of ungrown or unmown parts to them. My lawn, I mow from the sidewalk to the road. I mow a 12-foot perimeter, so it's neat and tidy. I weed whack, I hedge trim, I have paths in there, we're growing flowers. I think it's beautiful. And not only is it beautiful, but I see tons of bees and wasps. I was just standing in it the other day, and the wild, the birds are there, but just the insect and the pollinators are really abundant. And I think that we really need to do something about that. And so I would advocate for change.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I was just about to give you 30 seconds, but
Under 3 minutes.
I saw, and thank you for speaking, Julie, and I did see your post on Facebook and, the various commentary about that. I don't know whether you have that report. It certainly might be something that, you could submit The report you referenced there about the benefits of longer grass and the information about ticks and the like, if that's something you'd like to, you can mail to the town clerk. We can add that to the record, if not of this meeting, of our next meeting. As you probably know, the town of Brighton does not use herbicides, pesticides, other than in very, very limited public safety circumstances, whether it's town hall or our playing fields. I certainly think it's the least that I can do to follow that same example, and I certainly don't and haven't used them for many years as well. It's certainly something that, and I know, and I've seen, yards where people, as you're describing, may mow a perimeter, leaving an area inside. I've also seen unmowed lawns that really do just look seriously unkempt. I heard from neighbors in a neighborhood just about 2 weeks ago, a property that tenants had moved out from and the landlord hadn't mowed, and I could understand why they were concerned about it. But is there some kind of a happy medium? It's certainly something to think about, and getting the study you reference would be helpful in doing that. Thank you.
If I may?
Yeah, please.
If you're not familiar with the Pollinator Pathway Challenge, I encourage you to check that out on the town website under the Conservation Board page. That was something that was initiated as kind of the outcome of a discussion about can Brighton do no mow May? Can we change our code? Well, how can we find that happy medium and be productive in creating more connections for pollinators throughout our area? So have you, excellent.
And specifically native
Yes.
pollinators.
Yes, specifically native plantings. And I will say, I know we don't have time for an extended discussion about this, but I do believe our code currently leaves a lot of room for interpretation, and we might do well to look at tightening up the interpretation holes and make it clearer when it's an initiative like Ms. Capaceri's yard or a pollinator pathway versus not getting around to the labor as often as you might like in these rainy days.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes?
My name's Anya Busha. I guess I'm following up on the same conversation, and thank you, Julie, for giving those facts. I also wanted to talk about the no mowing issue, and I guess when this first came up, some discussions that we had at home, I was kind of uncomfortable with the topic. I tend to be conflict avoiding, and I really worried about that things could upset neighbors, and I didn't want to make people feel uncomfortable in their own homes. That was really important to me. But then the more I began reading about it, the more I really became concerned that there really is a clear difference in how the effect of different sized lawns. And if you have a big lawn, that really can make a difference. And as you can imagine, many of us are feeling frustrated right now that there's a lot of bad things happening in the world and the environment is not going in the right direction, and we have little control. There's very few things we can change. And then when we have our own lawns and we think about what are we doing them and what effect we can have, it becomes very frustrating when we're limited by something that, I began to look into, like, why short lawns? Where did it come from? And it looks like it traditionally comes from a way of showing that you don't need to farm. Like, so basically the wealthy people would have big short lawns that they wouldn't do anything with, and it would be considered looking appropriate or proper. But it doesn't come from any real functional purpose. And when we started to look into the things, because I thought the pest thing was true too, there's no data for that. So then I began to feel bad that, like, okay, I'm going along with something because I don't want to make the neighbors bad, but it's something that I could contribute to providing something better for the environment around me. And so that's where I really began to think that we need to start questioning these kind of old, standards that were what we grew up with and we thought were normal, but maybe don't make sense given the current context. They came from a time when nature was infinite, and we know it's not true. So I don't know how to rewrite the rules, but I believe there must be a way. We at one point had our whole lawn grown up. There were no weeds. I had handpicked out the weeds, and it looked like a wheat field that would blow. And we actually got a lot of neighbors coming to us and complimenting us for how beautiful it looked. I get, though, on the flip side, when things look a mess, and for the record, don't look at our yard this year because we just had geothermal energy put in, and it's a
Congratulations.
mess. So that right now I'm not defending our yard. But when it was just pure grass waving in the breeze, I would argue that that is aesthetically beautiful, and that shouldn't be something that should be considered offensive. So maybe just finding a way to change the laws to say, like, yes, we don't want awful weeds that spread. We don't want smelly garbage that brings vermin. But there's got to be some new way, some modernized view of what's an appropriate, respectful lawn. And I guess my closing thing would be to think about changing the laws to let those of us who are trying to be good global citizens still be good local citizens. And we would really appreciate that. And any way we could help, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board during the open forum? Hearing none, Chris, can I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Bill, I move that we approve the agenda.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. We do have two public hearings tonight. The first public hearing relates to proposed local law number 1 of 2025 of the town of Brighton, entitled A Local Law to Amend Chapter 215 of the Code of the Town of Brighton, Stormwater Management. Dan, has the necessary legal notice been given in this matter?
Yes, Supervisor. This was initially noticed when we first had this before us in April. It was re-noticed due to just time gap there on June 18th, the Daily Record.
Thank you. Legal notice having been given, I declare this public hearing open, and yes, this is the continuation of a public hearing that was originally opened back in April. This is one more opportunity to discuss this proposed law, which is really something that arises out of some dialogue with the state DEC. It was important to them that our stormwater management law be consistent with various regulations and policies of the DEC, but at the same time, the town of Brighton has long tried to go farther with its stormwater management policies and to be sustainable and environmentally conscious as we engage in those policies. So this law is intended to be compliant with those state DEC requirements while at the same time be consistent with our local sensibilities. Glenn or John, anything more you want to add to that description?
No, Supervisor.
Yeah, and it's just basically, like what you said, bringing it up to the level of the state requirements. This goes back to about 2005 when the state laws changed. And so we're catching up to where we need to be, plus we maintain what Brighton does. And so we've added our special part of Brighton to that, and it's compliant while maintaining how we do things here.
So with that, I will ask, is there anybody here that would like to address the board on this public hearing? Hearing none, and there appears to be no one remotely, I declare this public hearing to be closed. Councilmember Werner, if you would like to make the motion.
Bill, with respect to local law number 1 of 2020, with regard to the amendment to Chapter 215 of the Code of Brighton, in accordance with local law number 1 of 2025, I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
Discussion. And we did have previous information on this matter, so we've had a chance to review this. Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer?
Aye. The next public hearing tonight relates to the proposed tree removal of a 32-inch silver maple located in the street right-of-way adjacent to 185 Elmore Road. Dan, I'll ask again, has the necessary legal notice been given in this matter?
Yes, Supervisor, the June 9th edition of the Daily Record.
Thank you. And has the necessary notification been given to adjoining property owners?
Yes, they have. They were sent out on May 29th.
Thank you, Bill. Notice having been given consistent with the town's tree law, I declare this public hearing to be open. And I would also direct that the arborist's report and communication with that be entered into the record of the public hearing. Our arborist, Kyle Sears, reviewed this and did find a hazard rating of 12, which is the highest hazard rating, and a recommendation of immediate action. So I would ask that all of that be included in the record of this public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to address the board concerning this matter? And I do not see anybody online either. Since it appears there's no one here to comment on the proposed tree removal, I declare this public hearing to be closed. And Nate, if you would make the motion, please.
I move that we, in favor of the removal of the 32-inch silver maple at 185 Elmore Road.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm just curious if Dan has any objections.
I was just waiting. Again, as someone in the neighborhood, I've been stopping short of the stop sign under that tree for several years. So I was both happy and disturbed to find out how bad it was, because it never looked good to me with the untrained eye. So I'm very relieved that this is coming down. I had actually asked somebody to look at it before Kyle was the arborist, because I've been worried about it for most of my tenure on Elmore. So my offer still stands to the crews. As long as I'm in town when they take it down, I'll be down with water or snacks or whatever.
All right, we'll be in touch. We'll give you the schedule.
Anything else? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer?
Aye. Communication. We have one item of communication here this evening. It's a letter from Florence Wright, and she inquires about the status of the community center, and also asks, why we started work on the town hall project before the community center. And before we enter it into the record, I do just want to try to address those questions from her. But first, can I have a motion to enter them into the record? Chris?
Bill, I move that we accept the communications, including the matter you've suggested be entered into the record as well.
Can I have a second?
Second.
So first, why the town hall project moving forward at this point? And really, there are two things that happened. One, during COVID, it became very apparent, and we heard a lot about it, especially during the early stages of COVID, that buildings that did not have air filtration were put people in those buildings at greater risk. And you saw people updating HVAC system filtration to provide more effective filtration. The town hall was completed in 1953. The HVAC system is basically original issue and has no air filtration at all in the system. That was concerning. Equally concerning was the fact that both the heating, but particularly the cooling components of the HVAC system were increasingly non-functional, to the point where there were volunteers on some of our boards who asked not to come to meetings in July and August because the auditorium was so hot. I don't know what we would have done if there had been a meeting in that auditorium last night or Monday night. It would have been intolerable. So we felt that it was important to make those enhancements to Town Hall. Frankly, of course, as we've talked about, the Town Hall project will install a new HVAC system, and it'll be a geothermal system. It'll allow us to do a number of other things in the building, but that geothermal HVAC system is really the core of it. So the work is ahead of schedule. We finished the asbestos abatement. We finished drilling the wells of the HVAC system. There's a network of connections between those wells that will be done over the course of the next month or so, and the project will continue moving forward. But that doesn't mean we've forgotten about or are ignoring the community center. We are very close to having a draft of a community center study, and I anticipate that there will be a presentation of that study at a town board meeting to the community in July. And we have also, about 2 weeks ago, Governor Hochul announced a new grant program, the BRICS grant, which is a grant program, $100 million total, geared towards new construction of community centers or renovation of existing community centers. And I anticipate that the town of Brighton will be applying for a grant under this BRICS program, relying on the study and relying on the work that we have done, our vision for what a community center might look like, with the hopes that with the grant money we can, if we were so fortunate as to receive it, that it would give us a good head start on the funding for the project. So more to follow on that, but we appreciate, Ms. Wright, your communication, and we will be keeping the community up to date on that project. Anything further on that communication? Hearing none, we have a motion. It's been seconded. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing?
Aye. We have no report, I believe, on the Community Services Committee, so Finance and Administrative Services. Nate.
Thanks, Bill. The Finance and Administrative Services Committee last met on June 18th. Let me pull this up. We recommended extending a consulting agreement with former Assistant Finance Director Suzanne Zasso, who's been so crucial helping our team out at this time. We also approved an update to our town's deposit and investment policy, which reflects the merger between NYLAF and NY Class, which I'm sure Earl can talk more about. I'm not going to pretend to be Earl on this one. And we received our regular update from Town Hall renovation project. The last thing I'll say we talked about was we received a donation of a playground on Monroe Avenue, which I know is also on tonight's agenda. Our next meeting is right here on July 2nd, and of course, these meetings are open to the public, so you are all invited to attend. I should say 8:30 a.m.
8:30 a.m. Thank you, Nate. And technically, we've received the offer of a donation of land on which there is a
Yes.
playground, and more to follow on that. Thank you. Public Safety, Chris.
Bill, I reported on the June Public Safety meeting at our last town board meeting, and our next meeting will be July 8th. at 8:00 a.m.
Thank you. Public Works, Christine.
Almost word for word, the same as public safety. We haven't met since the last town board meeting, and next meeting will be July 8th at 10 a.m. What time do we meet? 9 a.m.
9 a.m. Thank you, Christine. New business, reading and approval of claims. Nate.
Earlier today, I reviewed...
Good night. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, guys. Earlier today, I reviewed claims totaling $1,678,732.36. One notable claim includes the payment for a sculpture at 12 Corners Quickly's Brighton, which will be reimbursing the town $100,000 for that sculpture. I know that we got some questions. And by the way, how great is it that we have a big public art display right at the center of our town? It's a great improvement, and it was fun. I know my colleagues and I were there for the, I don't know if it's a ribbon cutting, but the announcement of this sculpture and with the artists, and it was really a big improvement for our town center. All the claims appear to be in order, and I move for them to be approved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I only want to point out that I was hoping for a big unveiling, and I was sorely disappointed. But I'm still very excited about having world-renowned art in the center of town.
That's right.
Anything further? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Malley?
Aye. Nate, why don't you do the next one as well?
You got it. The next matter seeks to amend the 2025 deposit and investment policy. I move that we approve this motion as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
As Nate mentioned during his Finance and Administrative Services Committee report, primarily this change reflects the merger of NYLAF and NY Class, which are two providers of investment options that meet the municipal investment standards of the state of New York. And there are a couple of other changes, percentages that can be kept in one investment as well as investment limits, but that's the main change. Earl, anything else you'd like to add?
No, I would just add that all the changes are related to this combining of New York LAF and New York Class.
I guess the one question I had, and it does relate to the change in percentage that can be held in a single entity. Has our auditor weighed in on that language?
It's the same language, just a different percentage, because particularly at the during tax collection, you know, we used to split investments between New York Class and New York LAF. So now that they're a combined entity, technically, we just didn't want to be worried about not being able to follow our policy. I don't expect that we'll be close to 90%, but often our best rates were with New York Class or New York LAF, so we just changed that from 80% to 90%.
Okay.
A small change.
Okay. Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll on the motion.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Malley?
Aye. Chris, the next matter, please.
Bill, the next item is to authorize the supervisor to amend an agreement with Suzanne Zasso for the provision of financial consulting services by extending the term to February 1st, 2026. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
Second, thank you, Nate. Yeah, Suzanne, our former finance director and assistant finance director, has been working actually not only with the finance department, but also with our personnel, HR director, Tricia Van Putty, updating employment policies, our employment manual, and they're getting close to being finished, but they want to extend the time. Earl, I don't know if there's anything you want to add?
No, we are not really on the finance end using Suzanne any longer for any additional projects, but she is working to help complete the handbook since she has 33 years of history with the town, so.
And a lot of those were at a time when the finance department, and Suzanne herself specifically, was very much involved with the HR. So it only made sense to have her engaged in that. Okay, we have a motion. It's been seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing?
Aye. Chris, the next matter.
Bill, the next item is to authorize the supervisor to accept a 2023 Bridge New York grant in an amount totaling $840,000 and sign the necessary related agreements for the Chelmsford Lane Culvert Replacement Project, and authorize the Finance Department to make necessary budget transfers and amendments related to this project. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
This relates, of course, to the Chelmsford Lane Bridge, which will be our next bridge project after completion of the French Road Bridge project, which also was funded through the Bridge New York grant program. The state DOT is in the process of doing a right-of-way management and review at this point, and after that, probably next construction season, I believe. Is that the expectation, Glenn? The work will be done, but this is a necessary step in the process. And it also includes a declaration under seeker that the town will act as lead agency on the project. Further discussion?
If I may, just
Sure.
briefly for the record, Supervisor, the authorization in this agenda item is actually comprised of 3 separate resolutions. The first resolution, as you indicated, is a seeker negative declaration coupled with acceptance of the grant funds. Then the next 2 resolutions are both agreements with DOT with respect to the project as they have requested. So we have done it in 3 steps per their guidance.
So just, Chris, confirm that your
To clarify
motion
that
relates
if
to all
this
3.
can be done in one motion, then I move that we adopt all 3 resolutions presented before us here.
Second.
Thank you. Thanks for that clarification. Further discussion, anyone? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing?
Aye. Christine?
Yes, the next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to renew an agreement with Scanex Pipe Services to perform ongoing cured-in-place pipelining services in an amount not to exceed $300,000 per year for the 12-month period July 1, 2025 to June 30th, 2026. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
We have worked with Scanex for a number of years on rehabilitation of sanitary sewer pipes. This is the first extension of a potential 4-year contract, and has long been an essential part of our sanitary sewer infrastructure maintenance. Bill, anything you want to add to that?
We actually use them for our storm sewers on occasion, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's part of our yearly maintenance program.
Good. Anything further? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing?
Aye. Nate?
The next matter seeks to set a public hearing for the removal of a 34-inch Norway maple at 60 Alamo Drive, a 42-inch silver maple at 1393 Clover Street, a 40-inch box elder at 51 Edgemore Road, a 32-inch silver maple at 156 Fair Oaks Avenue, a 40-inch silver maple at 70 Greenfield Lane, and a 35-inch silver maple at 65 Meredith Avenue. I move that we approve this motion as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
All pursuant to our tree law, and the public hearing will be held on July 23rd at 7 o'clock. Further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer?
Aye. Nate?
Yeah. The next matter seeks to accept a donation of the real property located on Monroe Avenue and authorize the supervisor to execute a donation agreement and related to the you could tell I'm a little tired today. And related documents associated with the acquisition of said property by the town. I move that we approve this motion as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This is property sort of between Canandaigua National Bank and the high school playing fields. It is land that the town, has leased from the current owner, J.V. Renard, for many, many years, over 30 years, I believe, or close to 30 years at least. And as we've discussed in other settings, we have been rehabilitating town playgrounds throughout the town, and this is one of our oldest playgrounds at this point. We were approached by the owner of the property as to whether we would be interested in accepting a donation of the land, and we were very appreciative of that offer, and this is the first formal legal step in making that donation possible. So thank you to the owner, J.V. Renard and Company, Inc. It's about 9/10 of an acre of land. And is there any further discussion on this? Then hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt? Force of habit? Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer?
Aye. Matters of the supervisor, just to follow up on what Nate said, very exciting last Friday to celebrate the new Albert Paley sculpture in the heart of the 12 Corners in front of the Quickly store. The Quickly's itself was constructed under our incentive zoning methodology, which allowed us to be very specific about the way we wanted to treat the streetscape. That store replaces a very old and very tired and very traditional gas station that was on that corner with gas pumps in front and, you know, the gas station building itself. What this project does is it moves the building out closer to the street, trying to engage a more vibrant streetscape, moving parking and the gas pumps to the rear where they won't dominate the scene as much. But as part of the design and as part of our direction to Quickly's, part of the incentive zoning approval was to have incorporate public art into the final site plan. And we were fortunate enough to have the opportunity to work with world-renowned sculptor Albert Paley. Mr. Paley has works throughout America and beyond. He is, of course, a Rochester native, faculty member at RIT. And the sculpture that has now been installed there, which is entitled Compression, a reference to the way he compressed the metal in order to form it, fabricate it into the shapes that it's in, was fabricated in 2019, has been on display in a sculpture garden in Chattanooga, Tennessee, until it was shipped back up here to that location. And it's my hope that it will become just the first of additional street art installations along Monroe Avenue as the avenue is rehabilitated over the next several years. So I am very, very grateful to Mr. Paley, and I'm very grateful to Ken Pirelli, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Quickly's. They collaborated very, very effectively in getting the sculpture shipped up here. Quickly's is committed to paying the full cost of that statue, $100,000. Sculpture, $100,000. It will not cost the town or the taxpayers of Brighton anything. They also took care of the cost of shipping and the cost of installation. It was installed with the contractors that they have working on their buildings. So it's a great collaboration among the artistic community, the education community. Dr. McGowan was there for the ceremony. Mr. Paley expressed his excitement at that location because it was in such close proximity to the school. So win-win, absolutely. And you got to like that Brighton blue color as well. The development of the 2026 budget is underway. All of our department heads, or at least those department heads that have a capital component to their budget requests, have submitted those requests, and the town's the Volunteer Budget Review Task Force has begun the process of meeting with department heads, reviewing their requests, asking questions. Glenn, you made it through a good long session this morning. I don't see any visible scars, but I think it's a really
later in the week.
It's a great opportunity. I mean, Bill. Sorry.
Good job. Thanks.
It's a great opportunity, though. I really think for all of us to engage in clarifying what those budget requests are going to involve and how they may impact our budget. We are facing serious headwinds in the budget. Raw material prices continue to go up. That affects the kind of things Bill right there, was talking about this morning. Infrastructure, concrete, asphalt. Those are the meat and potatoes of our infrastructure work. And they really, price rises there impact us and our ability to provide the necessary maintenance of our infrastructure. But that's not the only thing that is challenging. Personnel costs, particularly benefit costs, continue to rise significantly. The town is a member of several insurance consortiums, including the Finger Lakes Municipal Health Insurance Trust, or FLMHIT as it is known. That group met this afternoon, and what we heard is that it may be that our health insurance rates for our employees will go up as much as 10 to 12% next year, after a 15% increase this year. Increases of those magnitude make it very difficult to meet the tax cap and to keep our budget at a place where it is affordable to our residents. But it's also essential. Many of our employees are parties to union contracts that direct that health insurance coverage, and it's important for our non-represented employees as well to have the kind of high-quality insurance coverage that we have provided for many, many years. So those are the kind of challenges we're going to be facing as we go through this budget year. But we will continue to work very hard to try to balance the fiscal impact while at the same time providing the high level of budgeted services, community services that our residents expect. That is all I have. Matters of the attorney to the town. John.
I'm going to try not to move my microphone. I don't have anything to report, Supervisor. I would request an executive session, slight alteration from the agenda. Just three matters relating to the employment and financial history of particular persons.
Thank you. We will do that. Matters of the town clerk.
Some interesting news out of Albany coming out of the budget. As I put my acting assessor hat on for a moment. Some very good news around the STAR program. So they've made some revisions in the governor's budget. And kind of the highlights of the effects. They're changing it so that only one resident owner needs to be 65 in order to qualify for the enhanced STAR. Previously, all did. To become income eligible for basic or enhanced STAR, they will now only consider income of the owners and spouses who primarily reside on the property. So obviously it was, things change and different generations may be living together. It's the owners who are going to be affected by that and won't be disqualified if a adult child is on the deed or something like say. Which is often an issue for folks I've talked to over the years. And lastly, this is a little bit of the inside baseball piece, but the Office of Real Property will be notifying Assessor's Office of basic STAR recipients who have become eligible for enhanced STAR, which will be big because then we will know when folks become eligible, and it's not a matter of hoping we can get the word out to somebody who's newly a senior or newly qualifying. We'll be able to proactively reach out. It won't be a matter of them, again, hoping they know about it, as has been the case for years now. So I think some great work out of the governor's office getting this into the budget and change coming. I think very positive changes for STAR.
Thanks, Dan, and that's really helpful and useful information, sharing that with the public. Thank you very much. Matters of the Town Board. Then let me thank our ASL assessors. Again, we appreciate your work tonight. Can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the employment of particular people and financial matters relating to a particular person?
Bill, I move that we go into executive session to discuss matters of employment of particular people and involving these financial matters regarding certain people as well.
Second.
Discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. I do not expect that we will come back out into open session following the executive session. Our next meeting will be right here at 7 p.m. on Wednesday night, July 9th. But before I go, I do, since between now and then is the 4th of July, I just want to remind the community we do have a full day of 4th of July activities. All this information is up on the town's webpage and on the Recreation Department Facebook and the town Facebook. At 8 in the morning will be the 5K, the annual 4th of July 5K. Then the activities all move out to Meridian Center Park starting at 2:30 with food trucks and vendors and rides and slides. The Kiwanis Kids Zone and music, and some great acts at 2:30. Elena Alston. Elena played us, I think, for the first time last year, and she is terrific. Deepak Detu will be on stage at 4 o'clock. He is also a jazz guitarist with a great group sometimes with him. We'll see who he brings. And the Earth Tones, who have been playing the 4th of July for many, many years, at 6:30. Of course, the Sky Coasters at 8 o'clock, and fireworks at 10 minutes to 10. So come on out for all or part of the day, 4th of July in Brighton. And with that, can I have a vote on the motion to go into executive session?
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.